Last year, when I received my ATAR and study scores, a lot of people were asking me about study tips I have. And sure, that's pretty useful, but that's really only half the equation. You see, what a lot of people don't realize, right, is that how you face the exam is just as important as how you study for the exam. By the time the exams came, I had built up so much confidence in myself that nothing would really rattle me. And so today, I want to share with you my 4-part routine, which I used before every exam, as a guide for how you can also build your own routine that makes you feel calm, prepared, and ready to take on anything. So, first things first, for many students, exams feel like this giant monster that's just out to crush you. And so the first thing I tried to do was to really just understand, well, what is this monster that I'm dealing with? You know, in any exam, not every mark is going to be worth the same, and not every exam is even worth the same overall. So my first trick was to put every test/exam into perspective. Ask yourself, what really happens if I do a bit worse than I thought? In VCE, what I did was I tried to understand the scoring system. So I looked into how, let's say, your internals are moderated, your study scores are scaled, how much your exams are worth. And so by doing that and working backwards, I saw that, alright, if I lost a few, 1 or 2 marks here or there, even like 3, 4, 5 marks, nothing catastrophic would happen. Of course, it'll look a little worse, but in the end, I can tell you that for Ing Lang, I got a sub 80%, and I still got a 46, and it still got me a good ATAR. And so by putting everything into a bit more perspective, of course it didn't make the exam easier, but it gave me the confidence that I could still achieve anything that I wanted to. Alright, so once I understood the monster, the next step was really to figure out, where to aim at it. It's really natural for us to, want a perfect score, or like slay the monster in like one shot, right? But oftentimes this like all or nothing mentality can really backfire, because one small trip up and it suddenly feels like you're on the back foot now. And so what I did instead was I set myself 2 goals to aim for. The first one being this baseline acceptable level. And so that was sort of my security store. The second one was, a stretch goal for if, things are just going my way that day, that is what I can push myself further to aim for. As an example, for the chemistry exam, I set myself a baseline of 105 out of 120 and a stretch of 115 out of 120. And in the end, I hit right in between. I got 110 out of 120. And so having this baseline goal and having this stretch goal, it sort of feels like carrying both a shield and a sword at the same time. That shield, right, it protects you from any blows that the exam hits you, If you're hit with a question over there which you're not too sure about, a trick question over there, well, the shield says, alright, I got you. You don't need to worry too much. We can let those marks go. The sword is for our ambition. If there's all these like questions that you're like, you know what, I can actually give this a shot, I can give it a real good go, your sword is there to try and knock out as many questions as you can. And so combining these two together builds up more and more confidence in yourself and what you're aiming for. Alright, so now you've got your game plan and you know where to aim, the next step is really just to, practice. Now, I know that's probably the most cliche thing ever, but I'm going to tell you to focus on the quality of your practice over the quantity. So what a lot of people do, right, is they do 20, 30 exams, that's a lot, and they do it, just willy-nilly on their iPad, stuff like that. Fair enough. But if you want to build up a lot of confidence and be really settled for the final exam, what I would recommend for you is to do a lot of mock exams. Exam style setting, exam style time, exam style pencils, pencil case, calculators, all of that, and really just sit down for 1 or 2 hours, depending on how long it is, and go at it. The reason this is so powerful, right, is because you do this, let's say, 10 times. You practice an exam 10 times on the mock conditions. What does the final exam feel like? The final exam doesn't feel like anything new now. It felt like, basically, oh, I already done this 10 times. This is just like the 11th time that I have to do it again. That makes it a lot easier to confront now. I'd even practice all like the boring bits as well. Let's say you're finished with your exam and there's 30 minutes to go on your timer. Well, you know what I'd do? I'd sit there. Even if I'd look through it, I'd still sit there, getting a feel for that, that nervousness as you just wait for the clock to like tick down and stuff. Getting a feel for all that is really, really important, and it helps build familiarity. And what does familiarity build? It builds confidence. And once you build confidence, then walking into any exam room feels much more like a breeze. Your brain's like, you know what? This is something I've done before. How hard could it really be? Now, the days right before the exam are when many people start to lose that battle to the monster in their head. They panic cram, you're overreacting, you're stressing out, you're not sleeping well. That stuff is what I would try to avoid. So how I did that was, instead I built a lot of routines in the week just before any like final exam, or same breakfast, same playlist of music, same pretty much everything you could imagine. And what does that mean? Everything feels, again, the same. It feels familiar. There's no pressure on you at home, so you don't feel much pressure on you when you go into the actual exam room. On the morning of the exams, I'd give myself some micro wins, What I do is set out, maybe 3 or 4 pretty simple questions that I would try to do in the morning. It's always good to get some practice in. It's like warming your brain up, right? It's just like how an athlete has to warm up. You're warming your brain up for the actual big performance later in the day. But it's not as intense as, say, doing another mock paper beforehand, where you've actually sort of just exhausted your brain instead. Thirdly, I'd say before an exam, the best thing you can do for yourself is to avoid any of the nonsense chitter chatter. Your curiosity for what other people are prepared for, what other people have done, it's not going to lead to anything useful. It's really hard to learn anything from like the 30 minutes you spend with your friends outside like the classroom waiting to go in, right? What is better is you calming yourself down, being assured that you've done this before many, many times. At home, it's the same thing, and that's going to carry you through to perform really, really well. You don't need to join in on the nervousness and the jitteriness of other people. And the last thing I did was, when I walked into the exam room and stuff, I would always remind myself of some of the past successes that I've had. It doesn't have to be like a big success. Those successes like, I've done questions of this style before. I did that practice exam really well. I did this question not so well, but when I looked at the answers, I understood it now. These small little wins and successes in your mind just compound, boosting your confidence many, many times, and that's what really allows you to perform super duper well in exams. By the times that the exams came, I wasn't thinking, oh, can I do this? Or, will I struggle here? I was thinking, I've already done this before. I've already done this many, many times. I know what I'm looking for. I know how I'm going to do. And so the 4 steps, once again, were got to understand that monster. Then you got to know where to aim at that monster. Then you got to prepare yourself for battle. And then the days before, you got to sharpen up your weapons. Confidence, trust me, it doesn't come at the flick of a switch. It's not like one day you can be not confident, the next day you can be confident. It's something that you really have to build up through a system. And so this 4-part routine was what really got me through the whole exam process and through the whole of year 12, feeling not just not nervous, but actually chest puffed out, ready to go with anything that came my way. If you're a student, or anyone else for that matter, and you found this helpful or enjoyable, stay tuned, because in the future I'm hoping to upload a few more videos about, life, high school life. But other than that, thank you very much for watching today. Have a good one. Bye bye.